Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Yadin Ruas from Panax. I'm really excited to host today's discussion on how finance professionals can actually realize real ROI from attending conferences and industry events. Um, and as many of you know, finance leaders attend a lot of events throughout the year. Treasury conferences, fintech events, AI summits. But one of the biggest questions we hear is how do you make those events actually valuable? So today we're going to walk through a very practical framework for doing exactly that. Before we jump in, let me introduce our speakers. Um, so first we have Ernie Humphrey, CEO of Treasury Webinars. Ernie, thanks very much for joining us here today.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm really excited about this topic, and I bring a unique perspective. I've attended many events, I've been an exhibitor, I've been a consultant, so I'm happy to bring my rounded experience and my advice on this topic, which I have spoken on in the past. So it's very important. So thank you for hosting this, Panax. This is thought leadership all day. So I love the opportunity. Thank you.
Very excited to have you with us, Annie. We're also joined by Brian Rooney, Senior Account Executive here at Panax. Brian, also happy to have you here.
Yes, equally excited as Ernie. I actually had a chance to meet Ernie at a conference last year, and here we come again. So I joined Panax in the fall of last year, and really excited again. Had great experiences representing Panax at conferences, and excited to get into this topic.
Great, thank you. A few things we're going to do is we'll record this event and you'll also receive it. We have a Q&A button at the bottom, so please feel free to ask questions and we'll answer it in the chat. And of course, you're welcome to follow us on Panax for more insights and content about the finance and treasury industry. Let's get started. So today what we're going to talk about is what to do before the event, how to get the most value during the event itself, and most importantly, what do you do after the event to what do you do after to turn the event into real insights and real impact? So let's start with the most important stage before the conference begins. One of the most important ideas here is the most ROI from a conference is actually determined before you arrive. Ernie, let me start with you. When finance leaders are deciding whether to attend a conference, what's the most important question they should be asking themselves first?
I think the most important thing they need to get on their mind right away is why am I attending this conference? And make sure you have a productive objective. So I think you need to level set there. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the common reasons that folks attend conferences. So one of them that I hear, professional certification credits, that's great. However, that shouldn't be your only objective. Gain insights from ongoing or upcoming project, extremely important, especially today with all that's going on in AI technologies. A lot of folks are going to be attending conferences to figure out how they right size AI. So that's definitely an objective, and Brian will give us a lot more insight on that one. And might be my favorite, staying on top of your game. So staying on top of your game means learning as much as possible, networking as much as possible. In networking, we'll talk about that as well, but it's important relationships, not only with your peers, but with the solution vendors as well. Oh, they are not evil. They're friendly people. They have advice for you. And so there's a lot that you can learn from them, believe it or not. Now, I don't know about Brian. Well, I think you can. I know him pretty well. He's a pretty straight shooter. People get out of the office. That that can be something that you want to do, but that shouldn't be the only reason that you're going to the conference. Networking, absolutely important. I'll talk a lot about that. Business development, and I'll let Brian touch on these. So, Brian, would you please touch on business development and client meeting side from your side? What are your objectives when you go?
Yeah, so I think you can tackle this a couple different ways. So, as an attendee, you have an opportunity to develop yourself to ultimately support the business, right? So, Ernie, to what you were saying, align objectives. What are the goals in the near term and long term, and how can I extract value from that event to be able to bring back to the business? Um, The other opportunities I think are, as Ernie was saying, is learning from peers. So being able to interact with people, same role as you at a different organization, facing the same challenges, the same obstacles, and you might be talking to somebody that's elevated and gotten over those obstacles. So getting that peer-to-peer interaction, I think, is critical. Um, you also have the opportunity to attend the multiple sessions, right? So you are out talking to folks that are specialists in certain categories. And then, from a business development perspective, you have the opportunity at an event to speak with multiple vendors in the same day. And you get, it's almost like speed dating. You get 15, 20 minutes. You can come with a very clear objective and get insights directly from those vendors and multiples throughout the day to really refine maybe who might be the best partners for you.
All right.
Thank you. I was actually wondering if you guys have any insights of what are practical ways that attendees could prepare before the event.
For me, and we'll get into this a little bit in a moment, it's prepare. So it's time. You have to organize your time. You have to organize some slot that you have. You have to own your time. You also have to be sure that you, like as Brian was kind of touching on a little bit, research the event. So figure out, I like to say, what do you want to see and what do you need to see? So let's kind of, everyone wants to see me in my attire, but that only takes a couple minutes, right? And then identify the vendors that you want. So I think that's really important. You have an elevator pitch for your networking. Let's have an elevator pitch with our vendors. What questions do we want to ask? Let's not just go up and steal some swag and run away from the vendor booth. I mean, come on, we're all better than that. So you should prioritize, right? Get the whole vendor map, and you're like, oh, okay, it's a Panax. That's cool. I like, but I will say that it is fun to go to the Panax booth because Brian likes to wear interesting attire. He was Hawaiian last year. So that is an attraction. So do not shy away from that side of it, but have an objective, have a question that you want to ask and control that conversation from your side. The vendors are going to start getting their spiel, and sorry, vendors, don't let them take control of your conversation. Get out of it what you want. And then you have to learn how to tactfully disengage from a conversation as you're an attendee as well. So those are just a few top line tips.
Yeah, no, I think I'll just kind of build on that real quick. So, if you're a list person, so as you're doing this research, what are your objectives? Who do you want to meet with? If you're traveling out to the conference, just make a checklist of things you want to accomplish, people you want to meet with, and use that as your guide throughout the conference to make sure you are hitting everything that you had planned to and meeting the folks that you're intending to meet as well. And I love your point there, Ernie. When speaking with vendors, know what your current situation is, the problem you're trying to solve, and how can they help you solve that problem.
Yeah, and I'm gonna share a few questions that I don't know if the vendors will like this, but I will. I like to ask vendors the question. I'll put you on the spot. Value proposition. My next one is: are you willing to share with me of a customer who may not have been happy out of the gate, who you've worked through those issues with? Because normally everyone wants to give you the perfect customer, and there's always those, but relationships are built when that you have a relationship and you're not transaction based. So if you're really a vendor, that's a question that I would bring up myself.
Great.
So what I want to do is dive in a little bit more on, let's start at the top, right? Time to align your actions with your purpose. So you define your purpose, and then how do we make sure that we measure and get ROI from that purpose? So how do we align those two? Hold ourselves accountable. I think that's a big thing that I always had an issue with. And some of you are going to be held accountable. Your company, your manager, a good manager, if they're paying your way, will ask you, you're going to come back and you're going to tell me what you learned and how we can use that. So those of you on that, this webinar would be very helpful. So plan your action. So we talked about continuing education credits. Fine, but let's go to sessions that give you credit and give you knowledge. Same lines, give you knowledge and it aligns with an upcoming project. So that's very important. So look at the sessions, your time slots, which one's most relevant. As Brian mentioned, if you can talk to someone that has conquered a similar project, that's an amazing connection to make. So, and also there might be speakers you want to connect to. It could be the practitioner, but you also may want to talk to maybe the tech provider that's on there, maybe the consultant that's on there as well. If you're doing the business development side, I'll touch on this as well as talking over Brian a little bit, but that's what I do. So really what you want to do is you want to identify who you want to meet. And then if you're not very outgoing, maybe you want to look for who can connect you with them. And if you don't have any options, the guy with the interest brackets on can help you meet anyone that you want. And then from the vendor side, we want you to inspire me to book a meeting with you. And so don't be afraid to book a meeting. It's okay, right? Just make sure that you have some control over what happens in the meeting. So you may be like, okay, I'll book a meeting with you, but let's do a custom demo. I want to talk about this, this, and then it's mutually beneficial. Don't feel like that you're stuck in the room. And I'll let Brian jump in here about that in the client meetings.
Yeah, no, I think yeah, I'll just use a quick story from a real experience from last year. Got to meet a practitioner that had a very clear objective, a challenge within the business, and I got to meet her on the first day of the conference. Had a good 20-minute conversation. Followed up with her the next morning. She brought her leadership team over to talk with Panax at the time. And what it gave us an opportunity to do is really validate and understand deeper what the goals were and how Panax in this case would have been able to help. We use that opportunity, Ernie, to start establishing the goals for that custom demo. So we kind of uncovered and learned all the important factors of what was important to them and be able to tailor a demo and essentially get the most out of that time. So it's kind of we're skipping a little bit. So sorry to what's going to be successful after the event, but taking the time during the event to set up success afterwards is critical.
Yeah, and I also want to give a little piece of advice here for those of you who are going and maybe exploring potential solutions. I would say look for time slots when there's not a break and it's during the session time. So sorry to say that, but there's a lot less traffic on the floor. So we all want to visit the Panax booth, but if it's during a break or lunchtime, there might be a line there. And if Brian wears his Hawaiian shirt again, there's going to be a huge line at the booth. So you may have to be a little strategic, right? And maybe you set up a specific time, which is ideal, but maybe you don't get that done. So if you want to really do it with purpose, sometimes you have to look at some times because the exhibit hall can be very crowded and make sure you can eliminate some of that noise. Again, just to jump in here, and I'm going to say this, plan. This is from experience as a practitioner and helping people that have been accountable, trying to figure out, what did you do? Oh, I went to the party. And I'm like, no, you don't, that's not what you want to tell your boss. It was good. It was good. I learned a lot. Okay, well, that's probably not going to cut it. So this may seem a little minutia, but please try and do this. Set goals every day. What's my goal every day? I'm going to make so many connections. I'm going to get so many CTP credits. I'm going to go to lunch. I have to share my tip here. And this is hard to do. This is great for networking, which I'm jumping the gun, or the vendors. Go to every meal that you can go to on the exhibit hall floor back in the area and sit with different people every day. Don't sit, you can sit with your buddies and have fun, but be brave. Leave your ego at the door. Just sit with different people. All these meals, 8 to 10 people every meal, at least 2 meals a day. That's a lot of people to meet. And I see the vendors do this, and I'm not trying to make the vendors better. Well, yes, I am. So don't go and sit with everyone at your booth, and then you're like, that's the opportunity that you have. And also, don't be afraid to reprioritize your goals every day at lunch. Off track, maybe you're late, or maybe you change what you want to do. Well, I really need to do this. So don't be afraid to do that. And then, as Brian and I mentioned, set up as many networking meetings as possible with folks. I know there's the app and the little, but go on there and see who's attending. And if you're not connected with them on LinkedIn, make a connection and then say, "Hey, John, are you going to AFFP?" So, so there we go. And then you also want to set up, right, up many meetings with, if you're going to meet those text providers. So the more work you do up front, the better chance that you have of being successful. Plan, plan, plan.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll just say, last thing on that item around when you're scheduling time with the vendors. And I hate seeing this as a vendor where you're having a very good conversation with somebody and you see other people just kind of standing around waiting for their turn, which happens. That just is what it is. But if you get time on the calendar with a vendor you want to meet with, I can guarantee you more often than not, they're going to have that slotted aside and try to avoid getting in other conversations versus the
Absolutely.
person that reached out and set that time with them.
It also gives the opportunity to prepare, like you mentioned, Brian, to prepare before the conversation so you can make the most of that conversation at the booth as well if you book the meeting ahead of time. It's a much more valuable meeting at the booth. Um, so I actually want to jump to the next section. Ernie, I know that you're itching for this. You're the networking professional, so I would love for you to take the floor here as well, in terms of during the conference, how we can make it the most valuable with the networking.
I like this slide. Time is your most valuable asset. So here is the first one, which is really hard for people to do. Not for me, but if you do this, I guarantee you will have more success networking and you won't get stressed out about. Everybody gets stressed out about meeting new people. You have to just say, okay, you walk up. So first of all, leave your ego at home and have some fun. Please try and have some fun and be around people that are fun. So go find me. We'll have fun. I guarantee it. I will introduce you to anyone you want to. And then practice your networking elevator pitch. I'm not telling you to memorize and go, I'm a treasury manager at John, no, just know like how do I make that initial approach. So it's almost like you feel like you're dating and you're like, I don't know what to do. You got to get rid of your fear of rejection. Again, hang out with people that are outgoing, but I'm jumping around here. But one of my best tricks that I used was, so there's badges at conferences and there's information on there. So maybe they're a CTP. If they are speaking on a session, that's a really good one. If they have any badges, AFP Elite member, how long have you been a member? And you can ask them. And then if there's this is the danger zone for most people. If there's a group of like 10 people, wouldn't that be nice to get in a conversation? Because let's be frank, treasury and finance people, we often travel in packs of people like 5, 10, 15. So you kind of need to kind of sidle up there and kind of stick your nose in a little bit. And then this is one which I don't think people do enough, and I do it. Sometimes people look at me. Make a LinkedIn connection on the spot. So let's do that right on the spot. Let's just take, hey, can we just step aside here for 5 seconds? And there are tools you can use to help you. So make it on the spot, make it count. And then that helps you on the follow-up as well. And then there's events that you might want to go to. Get invited to the events you want to go to. I guarantee if a vendor's having an event and you're not invited and you go up to the booth, they should invite you to the event. Maybe you know about it. They would be absolutely thrilled to have you. If you want to know how to get invited to an event, let me know. I'm happy to do that. Brian, you want to add anything here? A little color?
Brian, you're muted.
Hey, yes, yes. So I think the biggest thing here that I would take advantage of is making the LinkedIn connections on the spot. Emails get crowded.
Yeah.
If you are connecting with the right folks on LinkedIn, they're going to continually share knowledge that you might not have access to. So I think it's a good way to stay connected. stay in touch for future events. Hey, we met at this AFP conference last year. Looking forward to reconnecting. It just gives you a connection or an avenue to at least communicate outside of what might just be email.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to touch on is that you should plan times for networking. It kind of may seem weird to you, but block off those times for networking and just, and do that. And then you'll be able to do it with purpose. It may seem like too much work, but there are people that can make an impact if you connect with them. And so, make that effort to connect them, especially beforehand. Hey, maybe you'll find a session that you're both going to. Hey, I'm attending the Panax session here. Do you want to meet there? Do you want to do that? So I think prioritizing makes sense and networking with purpose. And then let's just get down to it. If you said you wanted to come for just CTP credits, hopefully you have better things to do with your time than just sit there and not be productive for an hour. Pay attention. I mean, it seems so obvious as a speaker. I look out and you're on your phone. It's like they should have a thing at the back of the room where you have to put your phone in, but people might get too upset. But that's what I would do. And I've gotten in trouble as a speaker. I have asked people, can you please not use your phone if it's important? Can you come out and step in? And some people don't like that, but I agree. That being said, if you're actually taking notes, then that's fine. You should do that. So that's really important. And then prepare for the event. Prepare for the session, I mean. So if you have a question, you might want to kind of, let it go a little bit, but make sure that question gets answered. So what I tell people that attend my sessions, you have a reason for being here. If I have not met your objective, you need to raise your hand and let me know what that objective is. And then also, if you can get there early, you can meet a couple of people along the way. So that gives you a way to connect as well. So just if you're going to be there, make use of your time and take notes, because nobody has, well, I don't have a photographic memory. So, and get your questions answered if you have them.
Yeah. Just real touch on that, on the session piece, on paying attention. People are going to ask questions you have not thought about. So
Right.
I think that is such a good opportunity to hear something that has not crossed your mind. And you might get an answer from that is very enlightening. So being able to pay attention and also come prepared with the questions you want to get asked, because you can ask that question, the other attendees might build on that and take it in a different direction that you haven't even thought about.
Right.
Now we come to the most important step. What happens after the event? Because the real ROI is happening after the event.
Yeah, so let me just start out here and let's kind of jump into the first 48 hours real quick if we can. So up one. There you go. So I would say what you want to have in mind, you have to have a post-event action plan and execute it. So let's figure out what we're going to do. Create short-term metrics, long-term metrics, and Brian will dive into kind of what some of those are. This is very important. Create a summary report that can be shared if needed, including a discussion of the ROI you received. And one of the tips you'll see is, everyone knows I'm not super duper AI guy, but I do love this opportunity. Just download everything that you learned, every thought you had about the event, and put it into AI tool, ChatGPT, Claude, or whoever you want to use. And that's really important. We talked about this. If you didn't make LinkedIn connections with folks, if you've got the business card, this old guys still do, make that LinkedIn connection and do it before you get on the plane. That would be my advice. And then, as Brian mentioned, when you make those connections, let's do some research on them and identify mutually beneficial opportunities. And then if you research tech solutions, let's make sure that if we schedule things, that we have the time to do those. And it's a priority. So everybody likes to, sometimes we feel pressured because Brian's so charming. I booked a demo, but I really don't need a demo because I don't know why anyone would do anything besides Panax, but let's see, but someone has a solution. Let's not, waste people's time on hours and hours. Now, if you have even an inkling of a curiosity, that's fine. But the being a good potential customer, it goes both ways. And then if you do that custom demo, own that demo, make it custom, make it be what you need, and have a script for them. So I follow quite a bit. Tracy Knight, she has some very good insights about how to create that demo script, and then the vendors will love it as well because that's where you really see if you're a match on that.
Yeah. Um, Anybody that's traveled with me will understand I get to the airport way too early for comfort, but that's my comfort zone. But that is the perfect opportunity, as Ernie was saying, just do that brain dump. What is everything I learned? Go back into your notes and just capture it all on a single source. Throw it into a tool, get it organized. And then what you can do, Ernie, is actually take what those goals were that you determined before the conference and
Right.
start aligning it. Say, okay, what have I taken away, and how does that line up with what I had set out for before the conference itself? And that is when you take that back to leadership, to the business, you are coming with real solutions to ultimately, again, what was the goal of attending the conference? I want to create ROI for the business on why I attended that conference and make the case where, hey, this makes sense to continue investing in these type of events.
And one thing I just want to mention, encourage folks. So we have a lot of information on the slides here, and please request a copy of the slides and share this with your team. If I was a leader, a treasury leader or CFO, I would print this out and say, you need to use this. This is what I expect of you. And so there's a lot of great information in here. I've never seen a webinar on this besides myself doing this. And so there is incredibly valuable information in the slides that you should leverage and share with others.
Yeah, I actually wanted to jump into the opportunity to say maybe we could summarize the framework that we've just discussed today. As you mentioned, there's a lot of valuable things to unpack. Events themselves can be very busy, and Ernie, as you mentioned, planning itself is what's going to be the most valuable thing to make sure you get the most out of the event. So maybe we could give some summarized ideas now to the event for ROI.
Yeah, I would say I'll jump in here. So before, plan. During, execute. After, make it happen. This is where your ROI really takes shape, and quantify that and report it and share it and rinse and repeat for the next conference.
My final thoughts are conferences are a unique opportunity to get out of the office, network with peers and vendors, and really identify areas where the business can improve because of that opportunity. So take full advantage of it.
Great. So I see that we have some questions in the chat here. Let me go to the first one. So how should attendees decide which events are actually worth their time and budget?
For me, I would say, but I mean, it's a lot of times what I say seems like common sense, but that's what I find most valuable when I'm consuming content is just look at what your top priorities are for the year. Two things to think about for your job, but what about your professional development? And hopefully those align. So hopefully you work in an organization where your professional development matters. So you got to look at both of those objectives and then prioritize those. And then you need to, if you've never been to a conference, try and connect with someone who has been there, because sometimes events be these types of people here and they're not. So let's just not fall into the marketing trap. And then you got to look at the ROI. And then also you have to be able to make a business case to your boss. So you have to be ready. So I would say, Brian, I want to go to the AFP conference in Vegas. And if a good boss is going to say, why? What are we going to get out of it? And you have to be ready for that. And so I think that's really important.
There's another question here, which is what signals indicate an event will deliver real value versus just hype? Is there anything that we could pick up before?
Just real quick, I think some of it will be what you've learned from past events. Some of it will be just networking and reaching out to other folks that may have attended those events in the past. And the research piece, who's going to be attending, who's going to be speaking, and
Right.
is that pertinent to what I want to accomplish there?
And I think you have to be brave to ask. So let's say there's a big LinkedIn group, treasury management group out there. Ask a question in a group. And if the people that putting on the conference don't like it, so be it. Just say, has anyone been to Windy City Summit? Let's chat and get that direct information, because if you haven't been there, it's really hard to make an accurate judgment and look at your objectives, right? So if you're like, I'm looking to right size my technology, I want to go to a conference where there's vendors across the spectrum that I want to know about. So there has to be depth to that perspective. And also, if it's networking, look at the schedule. Is there actually time for networking in there? Can I network at a reception where every single person at the conference is at? Probably not. So that's not networking time. That's let's go have fun. That's when I shine, of course, but that's not networking time. It's very hard to effectively network when there's 6,000 other people around there. So I would say uh, take that into consideration as well.
So that actually leads into another question we have here, which is how do you avoid event fatigue while still getting maximum value?
I would say if you're getting event fatigue, you're not going to the right events and you have too much time on your hands. So I think that's a luxury that practitioners don't have. Even speakers like myself, I don't think we have that. My concern is as a vendor, when do the people in your booth have event fatigue? So I'm gonna go Dr. Phil on Brian here. He already knows this. When you're in the booth, all your people should be turned on, switched on, smiling, happy when you're walking around anywhere. Same thing. Don't look at your phone. Be switched on all the time. You never know those opportunities are going to be there. And for yourself, if you see your energy is just not there, you're not going to get any ROI out of it. You're not going to execute. You're not going to do this. So you may have to reconsider that. I have never heard of a practitioner being able to get event fatigue. I think they would enjoy that. But like I said, switched on. I think the event fatigue comes more on the vendor side from what I've seen. And I want to say it's very easy to read that as a practitioner.
Great advice. So I'll leave it for one last question that we have here. What's your system for turning event connections into long-term relationships?
Ernie,
One more
I'll
time.
defer to you on this one.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, of course. What's your system for turning event connections into long-term relationships?
I think there's really two sides of that. There's kind of maybe a couple dimensions of relationships. So your peer-to-peer relationships, I would say you connect on LinkedIn and you pay attention to what the other person is doing. And if they post something, if they comment, then you can jump in there. And then if you reach out to them for some reason, it's always good to say, hey, I saw your post on cash forecasting. I really like that. So I think that's important. And then if you make a connection with a potential vendor, just make sure that if you're going to do a demo, you have time to do it, you're interested in doing it, and know your expectations. Not only let them know your expectations in choosing a solution, let them know your expectations about when you become a client. So I often do that. I do that with my partners. I did that with Panax. I said, this is the way I work. I can be prickly at times, but I give you everything. I'll walk in traffic for you. Make sure there's that cultural fit well. And don't pester people too often so you can kind of get a sense of someone. So if the momentum is stopping, that's okay. But figure that out. And always remember, everyone is a human being. So just because someone may not respond right away, they may have a personal issue, a professional issue. So you have to be a little patient, and I'm not good at being patient. So I think that's where you build those relationships. And then also figure out if you can do something for someone before they ask you. So that's you will never forget that.
Thanks, Ernie. Before we wrap up, I'd like to actually ask one final question. What is the single biggest mistake that finance leaders make when they attend industry conferences?
They don't prepare. They don't prepare. I guess it's two. They don't prepare and they don't hold themselves accountable, especially the senior people. Who are they going to go and report back to? The CEO is not going to ask the CFO if why did you attend a conference? So preparing and holding yourself accountable.
Thanks, Ernie. Thanks everyone for joining us today, and thank you for our speakers for sharing the insight. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Panax after the session. And of course, if you are going to be attending the Windy City event, have a look out for us at our booth. I would be happy to have more conversations there. You can connect with the Panax team during the event, and of course, learn more about how finance teams are improving liquidity and automation. And thanks again, Ernie.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Have a great day.